All right. Hey guys, today what we're going to be talking about here, I'm making a bunch of videos. I got stuff everywhere in here. Bows, I got arrows, I got all kinds of things. What we want to talk about today, this one here we'll use one of my wife's, we'll pull that out. And we want to talk about is your arrow shaft. Okay, oh, and look at that one's even missing feathers. Okay, so we picked a good one. But your arrow shaft itself, the actual shaft material of this, how important is it? How important is the quality and the expense of the shafts? If you go look on like Lancaster, or you go to any archery store and you start browsing through shafts, you will see prices that range anywhere from $50 per dozen to, to $250 per dozen. Does it matter? Okay, where does this apply? Where do these shafts make a difference? Now, my opinion, okay, now you will see some that will be different straightnesses, so there'll be like a 0.006 tolerance, meaning that the straightness across the whole shaft when you spin it will be within a 0.006 of pure straightness. Some will be 0.003, some will do better than that, okay? Does that stuff matter? Maybe a little bit in the compound world, and maybe a little bit in the world of competitive archery, traditional or compound. Maybe that stuff matters. But what about for us as bow hunters? Okay, what about us for bow hunters? My opinion, it does not. Now there are some features of a shaft that I like better, but does it really make a difference? No. And the attitude in bow hunting, and why is that? Well, actually, I should take that back. Let's say no for 99% of us, and then I have a couple of options here for those, that 1%. But for most of us, this only purpose of this shaft is to carry a broadhead and hold feathers. That's the only thing it's got to do. Hold a nock, hold feathers, and carry a broadhead. Okay, that is the only purpose of what this thing does. And the broadhead is what does the work. The broadhead obviously what puts animals in the freezers. Okay, now we have the beauty of changing weights of inserts and things to help us get that broadhead weight up in that thing, but it is that front end that does the work. The back end is what steers and helps stabilize it, and knocks what holds it on the strings and gives you a groove to launch it from a string. Okay, the shaft itself, all it has to do is be flexible enough and hit the right spine parameters of flex to allow that broadhead to flex out of your bow and then even out and go straight so that that broadhead can go to the point you're looking at. That's the only purpose of a shaft. With that said, we are shooting, 99% of us are hunting whitetail deer. We're hunting deer, we're hunting hogs, we're hunting black bear, we're hunting basically North American animals, which I don't care if it's even elk, grizzly bear, even moose. Okay, these are simple, thin-skinned, thin-hided animals that are pretty easy to get through. They're not that big of a deal. Even down here, I would venture to say that a big boar hog down here is a much harder target than pretty much anything else there is in North America. Okay, these things, they're a beast on arrows. Yet these things still work flawlessly. And we have a lot of different options. We have your carbons. We have your painted or your wrapped carbons that look like wood. Okay, these are one of the arrows I shoot all the time, the classics. But you got those. You have aluminum arrows. Okay, we think about that. 2117. We've shot so many animals with these aluminum arrows. Okay, this is aluminum here. It's aluminum shaft. You know, another aluminum right here too, but aluminum material. Okay, listen to the noise factor. Aluminum. And then if you listen to carbon, let's move that over. Listen to carbon. So they all have some advantages and some disadvantages. I don't have any wood shafts here to show you those. But so there's some nice features in between them, but we're all shooting thin-skinned animals, so we're not worried that much about breakage. Strength-wise, carbon is obviously stronger than aluminum, but on that flip side of that is, even though carbon is stronger than aluminum, aluminum's punch through everything. Okay, we're not worried about, if we're worried about the shear force or bendability of an arrow, it's already too late. It's already done its job by that point. This arrow is traveling forward. It goes forward, and then it hits an animal, and it's going to go forward into that animal. Yeah, it might have a little oscillation, but it's driving forward. So as long as an arrow has the forward strength, which they all do, to push that arrow into that animal, then what happens after that's irrelevant. Okay, carbon breaks just as quick as aluminum. People think carbon is stronger, but aluminum shear strength Okay, you shoot an animal, you go through a shoulder bone or whatever, shoulder blade, and this thing, boom, gets in there, and that deer takes off, pink, and then this thing goes flying through the air. That's what happens. Goes in, he takes off, his shoulder shoots it, ping, and you watch his shaft just float through the air like that. Okay, happens all the time. This one, no different. Goes in, boom, he hits her, pink, and it snaps the shaft off and he runs off. Or if he falls over on this thing, tink, and he snaps and breaks it. They are more durable for bend resistance, carbon is. Carbon holds up a lot better than aluminum. Aluminum holds up better than wood sometimes. So there's all these advantages to these kind of things like that when you look at it that way. But realistically, since they're all driving forward, the momentum of hitting that animal is a forward momentum, they're going to work great. People say, well, oh, these steel inserts are so much better and stronger than aluminum inserts. I did a video 3-4 years ago putting those things in a vise, grabbing a hold of this and flexing it and snapping those, and you'd be amazed how strong an aluminum insert really is. Okay, they do a fantastic job. Aluminum inserts, steel inserts, even the aluminum adapters versus stainless or the steel adapters, the aluminum adapters are very strong as well too. So, and yet it's all going forward. So none of it really matters as far as that goes. Now, if that's the case, why are they priced so differently? Now, when you get real nitpicky, okay, and you're a much better shot than I could ever be, and for those people that think that long distance shots are important, maybe that stuff matters because you do have differences in the way the carbon is spun that might make it more consistent throughout the entire shaft. So if you were to spin this knock around, you might get, let's grab one that's actually got feathers on it all the way around so I can show you on there. We grab one of hers here. Let's take this one. And so if I were to shoot this with the knock line this way, I might get a slight different spine rating than if I shot it with the knock spun this way or this way. Okay, there could be some variations in that on some of the cheaper grade carbon shafts. If you test them first and you knock a line at it, doesn't make any difference because they're going to somewhere in there meet pretty close to what you're at. You might get a slight variation in grain weight of across some of the cheaper ones. Again, for most of us, it doesn't make any difference. There's nothing wrong with shooting high-end arrow shafts, okay? And yes, they're going to have a slight bit more performance. In the real world, which is where I live and where I hunt at, I don't think it matters at all. My opinion, I still shoot these right here. I shoot gold tip. These are the traditional, classic traditionals. I shoot blems. Okay, they're blemished. Okay, but these are they even say on a 0.006 straightness on them. These are about as cheap as they can come. And I can find these online sometimes. I can find them for $50 a dozen for these things. And that's what I shoot. I got 2 dozen here, and I got probably 8 dozen fletched up and ready to go. But I got 2 dozen of them right here, and those are what I shoot the most. And I shoot them because, to me, there's no advantage over that as shooting something else. Now, what if I were to show you this? Okay, what if I were to show you these 2 arrows right here? Let's look at this one. Okay, now here's an example of a very high-end arrow shaft. Okay, we got a fancy knock collar on there, great knock. This is actually virgin carbon in this thing, and this is done. And then we got multiple overlay outserts on here for protection, sleeves on here for protection, coming to a stainless steel insert that is beefed up and sent through there. And this is an amazing arrow. This is, what do they call this one? This is the, this is called the Mammoth, FOC King Mammoth. And this is made by Bishop Archery. Okay, this arrow is hundreds of dollars per shaft. Same with this one. Here's another one of them. There's another Mammoth arrow, but this is, again, the carbon level that's in this thing, what this is, the way this this fusion arrow is done. It's another Mammoth arrow by that's done by Bishop Archery. But we are talking the world's greatest arrows ever made. There's no doubt about it. These things are pure gold in every kind of way. They got the weight, they got the FOC, they got, again, the carbon material that is in these things is insane. The durability, strength of these arrows are unmatched by anything else made in the world today. These 2 arrows, by far the best ones ever made. I've done full videos on these years ago on this, on the strongest arrow in the world. You should see these things matched up with his 600 grain broadhead. But Bishop Archery does some amazing things. Sean is an incredible guy. And again, the level of build in these things are off the charts. Do you or I need to shoot these? No. But who does? Okay, think about the people that are going out there and they're spending $50,000 or $70,000 to go hunt lion. They're going out there to go hunt elephant in Cape Buffalo and Asiatic water buffalo and things like that. There is a place where this kind of strength and quality in an arrow matters, because now you're shooting into a medium that is so hard and so strong and so destructive on arrows that these may not get your broadhead in there to do its job, where something like this has the capabilities to do that. So again, I will never fault expensive shafts. I think they're great. And then you even got all these other ones like Day 6, and you got a lot of these, and Safari Tough, and I don't even pay attention to all this stuff anymore, but you have some really cool, great quality arrow shafts out there. They are probably fantastic for a lot of people. And there's also that sense of pride when you shoot that kind of stuff, okay, when you shoot those kind of arrows. It's the same as this, as I was talking about. You could have, let's say that this was a $1,500 recurve. There is a sense of pride to shooting this isn't, but say it was a $1,500 recurve. There's a sense of pride of ownership and a sense of something when you shoot that. But yet on the same note, it is going to do no different than this $10 garage sale bow right here, and this is going to kill animals just as well and do the same exact thing you need it to. So there's that sense in there, and it's a reality with arrow shafts too. A lot of people seem to think that a higher level arrow shaft will do more for you. And it will in certain situations, but for 99% of us, no. Now, some things that I know that make a difference for me, that like I don't even want to shoot these anymore. I really don't want to shoot these for one main reason that I don't want to shoot these. And I'll show it to you in a second. But because I still have so many, I still keep shooting them. And because I have all the other ones made, I want them to be the same, I keep buying them. But for about 10 years now, I wanted to stop shooting these and go to even a cheaper arrow. And it's not just a money factor, although that's there, but the other factor, let me find my bow, because I use, here's one of my long bows, and we take one of these. When I draw this, because of this wrap that's on here, listen to this on my leather rest, ready? Let's see, I'll put it right here, because this is where the mic is, but listen to this on my leather rest. Hear that? Okay, you can hear that come across on that leather rest with that wrap. Now, if I take this arrow that is just pure carbon, and I do the same thing on here, listen to the difference here. Okay, you can hear that. Okay, when I draw that, it's quieter on this. And maybe you can't hear it with the mic, but I like the quieter sound of the natural carbon than I do the actual wrap on my rest. So for me, that matters more. Like I said, eventually, when I get around to get out of the supplies I have, I'll probably go to like a Warrior, like a gold tip Warrior, which is even cheaper. I think they're like 40-something bucks per dozen. But this is a Victory V-Force. These are not cheap. They're not expensive though either. Okay, but again, for me, in my world, in my opinion, the only purpose this thing serves is to carry my broadhead and my weight up front and put my feathers, something to put my feathers on the back. I cannot shoot just a broadhead out of a bow. It won't work. I can't just take that broadhead, stick it on a bow, shoot it back and shoot it. Won't do it. Need something to carry it. That's what the shaft does. So for me, and my money and my attitude and my sense, there's not the advantage to expensive shafts. To you, maybe there is, but point of the video, do not think for a second, especially for hunting whitetails and bear and boar and things like, for hunting North American animals and for getting into this, especially guys that are starting out, don't think for a second that you got to spend a lot of money in an arrow shaft. Okay, don't think that for 1 second. Don't think it's going to make you a better hunter. Don't think it's going to make you more accurate. Don't think it's going to aid you in any way, because it's really not. Okay, they're fantastic, but they're not. I really don't know how else to put it other than the fact to say that for me, my goal or my attitude, I will shoot the cheapest shafts I can get. As a matter of fact, Amazon now carries a lot of Chinese version shafts, and I'm hearing real good reports on them, and I very well might look into those myself too as well, because I do not care one bit what this is or how it does, as long as it is spined right, has the weight close enough to what I need to match my arrows, and it carries a broadhead well and it holds feathers. Other than that, I honestly don't care about the shaft, not one bit. I like carbon over aluminum because the aluminums will bend. Carbon is a little more durable for stump shooting and holding up for that, but for the most part, the arrow shaft is the one thing I pay the least attention to. I could care less about it. Long as it does its job, the rest of it doesn't matter. It flies right, things like that, I'm okay with that. Look at wood. People, you know, I mean, we used to buy wood shafts. We'd buy them by the 100, and we'd end up with 65 or 70 shafts that were usable. The other 34, 35 shafts, we threw them out, turned them into tomato stakes. They wouldn't spine right, they wouldn't line up right, they wouldn't work right, they didn't have the right rift on them. Things were different on them, okay? They just didn't function right. Some were too bad, you couldn't even straighten them. But we knew that going into it. It's the same thing here. You know, it's the same thing here. If I buy a shaft, I'm going to bare shaft test every one of them and make sure they fly right. If I catch one flyer that doesn't somewhere in here, it gets thrown out. It gets put out. Actually, they're actually stuck back there, and I use them for our Halloween fencing that we zip tie it to, but I stick them in the ground and strap my Halloween fences to them. So things like that. We use them in a garden as tomato stakes. So don't overthink the arrow shaft aspect of it. Okay, there's a lot of great ones out there. There's a lot of expensive ones. Determine what you need for what you're doing. But for me personally, this is not a place that I feel I got to spend a lot of money on. Your mileage may vary. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Do you find big advantages in a certain shaft? Do you think there's something to it? Or are you just trying to convince yourself of that because you bought it? Let me know. I'm curious to find out. So, but me, cheap and simple works absolutely perfect on a shafting. Thanks for watching.